Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table Lay Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says.
Welcome to Surveyor Says. This is Curt Sumner, the recently installed, maybe is the right word, I don't know, Executive Director Emeritus for NSPS. I'm sitting here with my good friend and successor, Tim Burch, who became officially the NSPS Executive Director just recently, and we've been spending some time together. We're going to be doing some of that going forward. And I'm looking forward to doing the activities that I'll be able to do in the emeritus position. There's a lot of things to do. We haven't archived in a really long time. Our 28 years book is now 12 years old or 13 years old, so there's a lot of that to compile. Still be involved as NSPS sees fit for me to be, and that makes it easier for me to transition. Because in every sense of the way, NSPS is my family. Everybody who's a member, everybody who's involved, certainly the staff are just like, I call them my children. I do have children older than most of them, as a matter of fact. But I don't know how to express how grateful I am to have been afforded the opportunity to be in the position that I'm in for NSPS now for many, many years. I began right after my presidency ended in NSPS, I guess in the summer of, or spring of 1998. So it's been a great ride for me and allowed me to get to know even better so many people around the country and learn more and more every day just what great people surveyors are. Some of the people who are listening to this probably have heard my good buddy John Matanis say, back when he was president, it's a great day to be a surveyor. And it always is a great day to be a surveyor, and always will be. So Tim and I just wanted to have a little conversation and talk about where we've been and where we're going. And certainly I'm thrilled that Tim is the person who is coming on, because he is super capable, and he's going to have the same approach to the right way to treat people that I subscribe to, at least I try to. And that was very important to me as we were looking for a successor. So thanks, Tim, for taking this on and carrying forth NSPS going into the future. And I'm totally convinced it's just going to get better and better.
Well, I think so too. And you know, I think it's not funny. I think it's ironic that you brought up Mr. Matanich and his famous, what I'll say is his famous saying. I don't know if it predates him or not. It doesn't matter at this point, because I always quote him as saying it the first time I heard it. And we've been carrying that message out. It's a great day to be a surveyor. Through the podcast, through some of our articles, through some of our publications and things. And it is. It truly, truly is. And I guess that's the part that is really, nice in this transition period, is that we've really figured out, as we went along, growing our relationship, with not just with Curt and me, but with the entire staff, of what this profession means to a lot of people. And it is family. It is very close knit. Doing what's right. Doing what is the ethical thing. Doing what we need to do to protect the public. So yes, there's going to be some change, but as far as philosophy goes, no, it's going to be a lot more of the same in that regard. Now, are we going to modernize a few things? Are we going to, more podcasts and social media and a few other things? Yeah, but that's just life. I mean, if you'd have said, when Curt started this job back in '98, would have talked about GPS and smartphones and all of this technology and how we would be talking to a microphone sitting connected to our laptop PCs and putting together a podcast, we would have said, "What the hell's a podcast?"
Exactly.
But the fact is that we can do this. We can sit here, have these conversations, and we've had some great conversations over the past 2 years with Surveyor Says, and it's a good way to communicate and get messages, ideas, thoughts, and points across to a whole different set of people versus having to be in front of or talking to somebody on the phone for everything. So I'd like to think, that, like I said, as much as that we talk about change and how things evolve, a lot of stuff is going to stay the same because I think the philosophy is going to be there and it's going to remain the same. And I guess that's what Curt and I guess as a recording, I'll say this on the record that's what's from the day I'm pretty sure I met you in San Diego at the Survey Summit in 2003, before I got really heavily involved with NSPS. That's the thing that struck me about you and the staff, meeting them in the San Diego Convention Center, how friendly, how helpful, how everything, it was inviting to be around. And so to have the opportunity to join NSPS in a different role in 2007, shout out to my good friend Mike Filipski, the governor before me that recruited me to become the Illinois representative, Illinois governor. I would have never guessed that relationships, friendships, a bond would have started very quickly. And so, to have this opportunity, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I'm still going back through the emails and trying to thank them all for the notes of confidence they have in the organization going forward. But I guess the big thing is, one thing they say is, you're following in some big footsteps, and absolutely, there's no bigger surveying footsteps than Curt Sumner, and it is intimidating, except when you sit across from the guy and he's cracking jokes at you. But it is intimidating because there is a lot to live up to, and we're going to do everything we can to do that and more. And that's the nice thing I like about the way that the organization has gone with putting together this Emeritus role, is that we're going to keep Curt on a short leash. We're going to keep him around for the historical things and for when, Curt, I don't know how the hell to do this. What should I do here? And he'll say, you call this person and you do this and you do that, and he'll make it easy for us. But
and speaking of making things easy, I mentioned this a little bit in the opening, but I can't say enough about how great the staff at NSPS is. I mean, Christina is fairly new, taking over our accounting duties, but she's pretty darn amazing, actually.
She is.
And then Trish has been here almost as long as I have. She was one of the early folks in my tenure who came on board. And there's no way to even talk about how great she is, not just from a qualifications perspective, but from a really caring about people perspective and making sure that people get what they need and they get it on time and those kind of things. And Sarah is just a delight to be around. She's really great, working primarily with the CST program and hydrographers certification program as well. But sometimes when people talk to us about what we do and how big our organization is, and then they find out, 4 employees, they're like, how the heck does that happen? And it happens because we have really, really dedicated people. that they care about you. They care about the society. They care about the individuals. And just so blessed to have them.
Yeah, they are amazing. And, I guess kind of going back a couple of years when we first, as an organization, was talking about succession and just being ready for a day that would come when Curt says, you know what, I'm moving to western end of Virginia and going to go back home. In preparing for that, we've had people that would suggest, why not look at an association management company? And, I'll be honest with you, my response to them was, this is one. This is a great one. It may not have its own little incorporation of, Sumner Management Inc. or whatever it could be called, but that's what this is. And it's a small but just motivated and dedicated staff to one organization, and that's all they work on, that's all they concentrate on. And can't say enough about all three of them. You started out with Christina. We knew we were going to be up against a juggernaut and get in once Bob Jupin, the old accounting manager, retired, because Bob was how can you say he's an accountant's accountant. He's
thorough.
He's thorough. And which for an organization is fantastic, because every penny is accounted for and that everything's in its place, and there will never be an issue with an auditor or the IRS or anything, because he was just that good and that thorough. When he announced his retirement, to replace somebody of that caliber was going to be difficult. And I guess, Curt, why don't you tell it best about the interview process and putting those resumes together and the order of the resumes you talked to the applicants.
Yeah, we went to one of the services and we got, I don't know, probably 30 to 40 applications, something like that. And then actually Bob and I sat down and went through them, and it was great to have him be part of that, because he knew a lot of the things they needed to know and that kind of thing. And so we began to set up interviews, and of course all of this happened about the same time COVID came along, so we really didn't do any in-person. We did face-to-face, but it was through electronic. And so we interviewed two or three people the first day, and then I think we did a couple after that. And almost immediately when the first interview was over, Bob and I stayed on the line after our candidate left, and almost simultaneously we said, this is the one we're going to hire, because she was amazing. And as it turned out, qualifications, attitude, presentation skills, all of those kind of things just fell right into place that we knew was going to work for us. Mm-hmm. And it certainly has. I mean, Christina is amazing.
Mm-hmm. She really is. And it's amazing just to even, in this short time that she's been here and getting to know her, her depth of experience, and just the range of knowledge she has in the accounting fields, and in some of her own investing in her own personal business. She knows a lot of stuff about stuff, and it's going to be very good to have that kind of knowledge base as part of this association management company going forward, because who knows what lies around the corner for an organization of this size. You never know what's around the next corner. If the plan is to, if we can, we're going to try to grow it a little bit. We really need to, with social media and other capabilities. So does that necessitate more office space and all this other stuff? To have somebody with that knowledge base and that ability to help manage that, Christina's going to fit that and then some. So, but then, like you said, with Sarah dealing with CST and the hydro, if that's one thing that's coming back through COVID, is CST is reemerging. the hydro certification is reemerging, and there seems to be more of a drive for the surveying profession. All we talk about a lot of times is the attrition, and we're shrinking, and this and that, whatever. But yet there is a drive within these market sectors to gain this certification. And so we're seeing an uptick in people wanting to take the hydro and the CST certification testing. And to have somebody like Sarah overseeing that, dealing with both boards, dealing with all of the paperwork and the testing and the back and forth is wonderful. Just she does such a fantastic job. So, like I said, we can talk about the graying of the profession, but there's a lot of opportunities out there, and it keeps growing. And I think we need to take time to sit back and realize that and publicize that a little bit more. We're doing more things and being able to cover more people. So, and I think you're going to see an uptick as soon as we can get kids back in schools full time with TrigStar. We're streamlining TrigStar in a lot of ways. It's going to make it easier. That's one thing about going into the classroom and providing tests and doing these things with TrigStar is you don't want the teachers are already overburdened. We need to be able to go in, make our presentations, do those seminars, do that testing, that competition as quickly and as easily for each of those teachers. Because if you ask them to take on more work, why would they want to do that? They've got enough on their plates the way it is. So we're streamlining things to make it easier for TrigStar.
Those are good points, Tim. And also, I think it's important to share just how dedicated the people are who are our members, but they run these programs basically. TrigStar's that way, that's for sure. And CST, it's almost a separate entity, so to speak, but it's our people that are doing the work, and they're all really, really dedicated. There are actually some people still on the CST board who started on the CST board when it became an entity years and years ago. But it's just a great example of what happens when you have people in a profession who care enough about it to get involved in what its association is doing and stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, let me lend my expertise. Let me share what I know. Let me help make it better. It's just, to me, it's a great testament to who surveyors are in general. Some people say we're too generous because we give our work away, but I'm not sure that's true. Hope it isn't. But give enough time, giving of your resources and the things you can do to help, and so willingly and good-hearted. It really is inspiring to see how that happens with those groups and with the people on our board as well. I mean, it's just, it makes you proud to be part of something like that.
Sure. Well, as you get ready to go into your next chapter of Emeritus and use the air quotes, going home, can you give us a quick snapshot of where your career started and through now, and what you're kind of coming back full circle, going home?
Yeah. My first day on the job as a, quote, a surveyor was maybe 2 days after I graduated high school. I didn't have resources to go to college at that point, and my father was a minister, but he also worked for the DOT, and we were struggling with where was I going to go for whatever amount of time it was going to take. And so he brings home this application and throws it on the table and says, fill this out. And I'm like, okay, what's that? And said I was going to be I don't even think they even called me a survey technician. I think it was maybe survey rodman or something might have been on it. So I filled it out, and maybe 2 days after I graduated and 80 miles away from home, living in a single wide trailer at a place where the temperatures got to about 100 degrees all summer long. But that was my introduction to surveying. And it took me maybe 20 seconds. I don't know. But I just fell in love with it. It was so cool to do. And it had all the elements that I liked. I was outside, always enjoyed math and solving problems and working puzzles. You know, I'm always using the term solve the parcel puzzle is what we do, and that attracted me, and I really enjoyed doing it. The people I was working with were really good, and so I stayed with them for 2-3 years, and then realized that in that environment your enthusiasm wasn't really going to get you a promotion. Mm-hmm. And so I decided then that I was at a point then where I could go back to school, so I went back to a community college for a couple of years, and then went to Virginia Tech. And but all the time, surveying was still there. And so what happened? My first job out of school, I went to Hickory, North Carolina, to lay out a railroad yard. I think we had about 20 or 30 lines of rail where they'd come into the yard, and I spent a little over a year there laying out that, and then moved back to Blacksburg and went to work at a company there, became a partner in it over time, and then I had this opportunity to come to Northern Virginia in the late 80s, or I guess early 80s. And so I moved to Northern Virginia and went to work there and worked in a couple of other companies, and then I just figured I wasn't really cut out to not be in charge of things, so I started my own company. And it was still, even after I took this job, my company stayed alive for a few years, and again, great people worked there, and eventually they absorbed the company because my time was needed here. And so you can kind of say I've been in surveying all my life. Mm-hmm. Certainly for the vast majority of the years, there's no doubt about that, but I just can't imagine anything I would ever have done that I would have enjoyed more, or the satisfaction I've gotten from being part of the profession, but also being part of the leadership of the profession and the advocacy side of the profession, and getting the opportunities to be involved in all of these different things. It's really not easy to walk away from, and of course with Emeritus I won't be walking away, I'll just be walking slowly, I suppose. but it's just the highlight of my life, other than family, to be able to be a part of this organization and been given the opportunity to contribute for whatever level I could.
So where's home going to be?
Well, home's going to be in Carroll County, Virginia, which is along the Virginia-North Carolina border, in the southwestern part of the state. For reference, people might know where Winston-Salem or Charlotte, North Carolina are. It's north of those two places. My birthplace was a little place called Mount Airy, North Carolina, and in the same hospital where Andy Griffith was born. I'm not sure if it had anything to do with my birth, but a few years after I was born, the hospital burned. So who knows if that was planned or not? I don't know, but nonetheless, it's a small town, and really looking forward to it. My son and his family are there. My daughter's actually in Richmond. She works at the Fine Arts Museum in Richmond. But my son and his family are there. I have 2 great-grandchildren now who are there. And so we're just building a little cottage on the top of a hill where if the wind blows enough, it might blow us away. Mm-hmm. But we got great views, 70 miles or so to the west and probably 45 to the east. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's not going to be, I won't say relaxing. Maybe it will be relaxing, but it won't be sedentary.
Right.
There's lots of things to do, and I've got lots of friends back there already who want me to do some stuff for them. And I just have to figure out what I'm up to, I suppose.
Right.
what I can take on. But it's going to be fun. It'll be interesting, but I'll still miss this family.
Oh, exactly. Well, you're not much more than a phone call away, or a Zoom call, or a little bit of a drive. But and for the surveying firms in southwestern Virginia, don't go knocking on Curt's door, because chances are he's not going to be a Rodman for you. So, But
too old to hold the rod.
So, well, good. Well, like I said, I can't thank you enough for all of the wisdom, all of the leadership, all of the guidance. Before you were executive director, during your time as executive director, and what I can only expect is going to be an enjoyable time as Emeritus and beyond, that Mr. Sumner, you're one of a kind, and it's been fun watching this place grow under your leadership.
Well, I appreciate that. I just know it's going to keep getting better, and a lot of people are behind that, and I'm just ecstatic to think about where it can go and where I'm certain it will go. Mm-hmm. No doubt about that. And so, as long as they'll allow me, I'll still be a member, mm-hmm. and still be contributing in whatever way I can do through this Emeritus thing.
Well, we got to work on them archives, so we'll keep, like I said, we'll keep you on a little short leash. That who better to remember all of the great stuff that's happened in the past? We need to make sure we memorialize.
Well, that's
it,
right.
So.
I better remember that before my mind totally goes.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, like I said, thank you again for all of your efforts throughout the years, and this won't be the last time you'll hear Mr. Sumner. He's still got a few tricks up his sleeve with some podcast recordings and things, but we thought we'd do this little passing of the baton, as our past president Cavell would say, that just it's life. It's the things that happen in life, and transitions are normal, and we're looking forward to a continuing bright future ahead. So with that,
I'll just say one final thing to everyone listening, and to all who may not be listening, who are part of our profession. As we say in the South, I love all y'all.
We love you too. All right, well, that'll do it for this week, and stay tuned. Like I said, we got a few more great interviews coming up, including some interesting conversations that I think we're going to have with some book publishers as well. So we will see you next time. Thank you. You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.